Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here at the Spartan Rocketry Club, and we are starting a new build today. It is the Estes Black Brant II. Let's actually take this out so you can see a little bit better. This is a scale model. It is a scale of a sounding rocket from a pretty long, venerable line. They're like, I don't know how many Black Brants there are now, but there are a lot. I built one somewhat recently, an Estes kit Pro Series, that was the Black Brant 12. Well, this is apparently an earlier one. It is a Black Brant 2. So this is a scale kit. It has some interesting little accoutrements here, which we'll see how that works. I have to say, I've been kind of putting this off because honestly, I mean, looking at the paint requirements for this, it looked like it was going to be pretty nasty with all this white and black. Yeah. As it turns out, though, most of this is going to be done with decals. Yeah, I need to paint this top part nose cone black. I need to paint the fins and the little fin can bit black, but that's definitely manageable. I am not going to have to paint like this narrow stripe black. No, that is done with decals, so thank goodness. This is a 24mm motor. It's going to require the 3/16 rod, which honestly, I mean, I like the 3/16 rod. 3/16 rod is less, doesn't wobble as much. You get less rod whip, which is an annoying thing to get. So let's dive in then, shall we? Alright, so there's all manner of stuff to do. I think for the time being, I might as well just get started with the fins. There's a lot to do in the early stages of this, but let's take care of sanding down the fins here quickly. So I got my block. There are only 3, which is great, so not too much to do. Just a quick sand here to get off any particular nastiness. And it's only a front and a back, so that's good news. Seems, there's some unpleasantness here still. Let's focus on that. Of course, the goal here is not to actually get it perfectly smooth. It is to get it mostly smooth, to get rid of any machining imperfections in the wood, which, speaking of which, this is warped. It is bowed a little bit out toward the camera. That's going to be interesting. Hopefully that is not a long-term problem. And that could happen for a ton of reasons. And it could have been stored improperly someplace where the packaging was distorting it. It could be just it was manufactured. This sheet of balsa always had a warp to it. Who knows? We'll have to see how bad that is once it comes out. And that's a little bit uneven here too. Again, we'll focus on that. Any trouble spots? Pretty good. Bit of sawdust on the back there. Same deal. Again, not to make it perfectly smooth, just to get rid of any particularly obvious spots, because sometimes you get a sheet of balsa and it is pretty ragged. And this one has some kind of, it's like flaking off the top, but sometimes it's all chewed up on the machined surface, which is bad, of course. That kind of stuff needs to go right away. But the goal here is, I'm going to come back after everything's attached and worry about getting it smooth, but we'll do what we can, at least for now. Alright, that's probably, this still needs a little more work over here. Better. It's a little rough over here, but I don't care about that because it's not part of the fin. All right, now get rid of that for a moment. I'm going to cut these out. So remember, I'm not really trying to cut anything. This is already, you know, most of the work's already been done. I'm just going over it and pushing through the burrs that are holding things together. You know, this is all laser cut, and if it were completely laser cut, then the whole thing would fall apart. So there are a couple spots here and there that the laser doesn't cut through, and those keep it together. This is actually a fairly thick piece of balsa, so I'm going to cut through on the other side as well, because I'm pretty sure I didn't get full release. Also, I apparently missed this little spot here. Yeah, I do need to get that. Every time that you go through one of those little connecting points, you get a satisfying little snap. That's how you know you're doing it right. Also note that I am doing my best to be cutting away from the fins. Like so, I rotated this so I wouldn't be cutting this way in case my blade slips. I wouldn't end up cutting into things. Alright, unfortunately, I'm just having a look here. Unfortunately, the remaining bits, this I could probably go over. The remaining bits are all diagonals, and there are still a couple burrs left. The diagonals cut, well, they're harder to cut through, which really shouldn't surprise anybody, because when you're going with the grain, all you're doing is really pushing the grain apart. Now, when you are cutting on the diagonals, you do not have that luxury. So go slowly. Like there, I felt a good amount of resistance, so instead of just pushing through it, I kind of stopped for a moment. I have to say, there is a fairly lengthy crack that is running all the way through this. I am rather concerned about that. Fortunately, it doesn't. Ooh, it does kind of go the whole way through. That could be a side effect of the warp in the wood. Well, that's a problem. I'm going to have to be very careful of that, because it could just snap right through the fins. And, I mean, I could fix it. I'd have to re-glue everything. Or, glue everything, I guess, since I hadn't done it before. I could, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. Alright. First fin's out. This one, diagonal, still needs to be cut. Okay, there, that felt pretty satisfying. I could force that, but again, let's just be careful. This one, yeah, there we go. And then, feels like this part right here is the part that is stuck. And this part over here too. Just be careful with your fingers. This is awfully close, I have to say. So maybe we'll move it over here. There we go. Alright, pretty good. Let's flip this over and cut through the other side. Yeah, there's burr. And that was probably it. Yep, there we go. Okay. It is possible that this line I see is just a color deformation, but I don't think so. Yeah. It does seem to go the whole way through. Let's just hope, cross fingers, that that is indeed a color deformation. Alright, now it's time to get the burrs off these things. That being said, I'm only really going to worry about the root for the time being, so this side here. I'm going to do this by hand with a little cut piece of sandpaper rather than anything else, because it's going to be hard to get my sanding block in there, for one thing. And this bending it backwards is definitely the problem there. So this is going to take a little more work than I normally would need to with just a sanding block, but that's good enough. Okay. Feels pretty good. Part of the goal here too is it does not hurt to remove the black. That's just burned wood, and you're gonna have to paint over. Well, depending on what part of it is. Like this is the root, so I don't have to worry about that. But like the outside edges, you're gonna have to paint over that. So if you sand it off and get down to the wood-colored wood, you actually have less to worry about with getting the color right. All right, the other, so I need to worry about this burr right here. I'm going to grab a big piece of sandpaper and just very carefully, because it's a small section, just go back and forth a couple times. That's good. And I'm going to get the top. Some resistance there. Well, that's fine because the burrs came off. Okay, now you will of course notice that I haven't done anything about the front here, and there are a whole bunch of burrs on that, and I haven't done anything about the back here. I am going to very quickly and gently go after this. No more than that. And where's the back? There's the back. Same deal with the back. Ooh. Okay, so I'm not trying, I do need to do that a little bit more. Not looking for perfection here, because these need to be shaped. Yeah, I have to say I'm not super looking forward to this, but looking in our instructions here, I'm kind of skipping ahead, but big section right here, I need to shape the fins. So the question is how? If you want to go for the full, 100%, we're looking for scale approach, these need to be airfoiled. And that means you're going to be shaping them down to a point in 2 different directions. This is going to be time consuming, and it is going to be rather difficult, because you'll notice it's not, sometimes when you airfoil it, it's just like, it looks like a diamond if you look at it in cross section, just over, back, over, back. This has got a flat section in the middle, in this part right here. That's going to be somewhat difficult, mostly because there's nothing on the fin itself that is really telling me where to do that. The alternative is you can foil the front, right? And you don't even need to bevel it, right? You don't need to make this come down to a point. You could just round it, and that would be perfectly fine too. I mean, the difference when it comes to drag between this and round is pretty trivial, at least at the speeds at which we are flying and the altitudes with which we will be achieving, So it's really up to you. Full-blown round, or bevel it to a point, or do the scale airfoil, up to you. I am going to do the scale airfoil, I think. Now, the question is, where should the foil start and where should it end? Now, the back is pretty easy. It's gonna start right here where the fin changes shape, right? So right there. But where does it start? That's a different matter. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a pencil, and I'm going to do my best. Wait a second. Is that? No. Yeah, I was going to say, the crack in this? That can't possibly be. Yeah, it is not. The crack in it is totally coincidental. It's not the one. It just happens to be kind of close to the starting point. And it's going to go from there to the ending point. And I could break out a ruler, but it should be alright to just use the fins here. It's kind of a ad hoc roller, and I'm drawing very gently there. So I'm going to do this again on all of them, I guess. The downside to this is that the fin template here is only one-sided, right? It is only for this top. Doesn't help at all with the bottom. So that's kind of a problem. Momentarily, we'll try to figure out a solution to that. But I want to get these drawn first. Oops. Okay. Okay. Very light lines. Okay, now the good news is we don't really need the other side. We can just kind of extend the line through the middle and then kind of eyeball where it would go on the other side that way. So again, I'm just going to kind of extend the line through the middle, see where it comes out on the other side, and then go from there. And one last fin. Now, this tends to be awfully time consuming to airfoil these things. Oh, I didn't connect it in the right spot. I'm an idiot. Oh well. Yeah, that's not great. Well, let's try that again. Let's do it the right way, the midpoint. We're going to the midpoint in this line, not the whole way over to the edge. So, yeah. Okay. There we go. And then the other line is going to go from the point where the fin starts changing direction, which is actually kind of hard to see from this perspective, so it's right about there. So like that. Alright, but again, I foolishly connected the dots in the wrong place. Let's try that again. My goodness. There we go. Alright, so I've got a ton of different lines here. I should be able to erase the bad lines because it's wood, right? And erasers work pretty well on wood. So this is the wrong line. Okay, so yeah. Alright. I'm going to go back and erase all these, and then next video, well, we'll do a little bit of other stuff, and then we'll start actually sanding these because it's going to take forever. Alright, so thanks for watching. I will see you in the next part.